Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So, before we start on the stitches, I wanted to remind you guys that this channel is to empower women, it's to encourage women, it's to remind women how strong they are. With that being said, I have a poem to share with you guys. Let's hear it for women, the women oppressed. In patriarchal society, their human rights are transgressed by male religious zealots who hate womankind. For to trample on women's rights, any excuse they will find. Let's hear it for the women who never receive a fair go, of equality in their lives they never may know. They are seen as inferior where males reign supreme, and this can do little for their self-esteem. Let's hear it for the woman who must play second fiddle to men, where to be born a female means one cannot win promotion in work or promotion in life. To an arrogant and an unfaithful man expected to be a good wife. Let's hear it for the women men do rule, and many males in positions of power can be cruel. The mothers of the children in life, the hardest role. Equality they need, and not male control. And this poem is by Francis Dugan. If you're in an abusive relationship, if you know it's time to leave, do it. You deserve better, contrary to what you've been told. We're not saying it will be easy, but we're saying do what you know is best for you. It's not going to get easier. These laws, all these changes, don't trap yourself. Don't do it. Currently, going through your partner's phone is illegal. So all these laws, trust me, they're falling into place for a reason. Don't trap yourself. Okay, guys, let's get into the stitches.
Great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled on the American populace, which is this idea that, like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent, but certainly they were unhappy, and so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term. And maybe it worked out for the moms and dads, though I'm skeptical, but it really didn't work out for the kids of those marriages.
So it's a new day, and you know what that means. Republicans have found yet another thing that they want to do away with, and that is no-fault divorce. In the past 3 weeks, 5 states have introduced laws to outlaw no-fault divorce. For those of you who don't know, until relatively recently, the only way for a woman to push for divorce from their husband was if the man was at fault in some way. In many situations, the woman had to prove that he cheated on her or had an affair to get a divorce, or that he was physically abusive. Men, on the other hand, have always been able to have no-fault divorce and leave their wives. So states gave everybody the right to a no-fault divorce. But now Republicans are saying they don't like that. And they're saying that the only reason that a woman should be able to leave their husband is once again proving that he is at fault in some way, citing either abuse or an affair. So in conclusion, they want to go back to the days where women are forced to remain married to men that they don't want to be married to. I'm pretty sure there's a word for that.
Only that man, you need to go ahead and do it now. I'm the woman that always tells girls to be calculated, plan everything out before you make your exit strategy. But honey, this is not a time for that. If you already know that this man has been unfaithful to you, you've been pondering back and forth if I should stay, if I should go, what about the kids? Honey, this is your warning to leave now. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Once these men realize there is no consequences for their actions as far as DV, infidelity in the marriage, and they can not be held at fault, they are going to turn all the way up. If he's doing it now, it's going to be worse later. Go ahead and leave now. If you are independent, you do not mind being by yourself, you have thought about it, this is not a chance to think about it no more. This is your sign to leave. I see a lot of pick me women saying, but I would never leave my man. We know you're not going to leave. He done cheated on you 8 times, got 2 side babies that you don't even know about already, and it's going to get worse. If you're one of those women that just want to stay because you feel like it's safer to stay with your man than be independent, then go ahead, honey. This is not the message for you. You can cry later. But for the women who are sick and tired, who did not see this coming, who are not going to sit here and stand for what is actually happening in our economy and do not want to be a victims of future BS within their marriage, honey, this is your sign to leave now. Collect your thoughts. Get it together. One door closes, another one opens, because a lot of women are going to be abused in these marriages. There are a lot of women that are already mentally, emotionally abused. These men are going to be putting babies in you over and over and over to keep you in the house. Watch what I'm telling you. We're going to see a trend of women constantly getting pregnant that did not even want to have these babies, but they cannot handle their business. We're going to see a trend of women who are stuck in these relationships with violent men, but they've been wanting to get out. We're going to see a trend of women who are continuously cheated on, and the man dares them to leave. You're not getting anything. You can't go up here and tell on me. You can't prove nothing. You're not getting anything. You want to walk away? You're walking away with pretty much nothing. So, honey, do it now. I'm just saying.
That's why they want you pregnant. That's why they're walking back all of this. Roe v. Wade, contraception, IVF, also no-fault divorce. I mean, that's one that trips me up the most. The no-fault divorce. How is the government going to tell you whether or not you can and can't divorce somebody? Who the fuck are you? Last episode, we talked about women taking our power back, but we also as citizens, period, need to take our goddamn power back. How dare government officials think they can tell people, you mean to tell me I gotta go talk to a judge and ask a judge whether or not I can break up with somebody? When you really think about these things, it really speaks to the fact that we are under a crazy control system. That in 2024, we're even talking about walking back no-fault divorce. The fact that we even had to create no-fault divorce in the first place. Why can't you just quit a marriage when you're tired of it? We know why.
Project 2025 is coming after no-fault divorce. Do you know why? Because they want to return us to a time when women were baby factories and relied on their husbands for financial survival. This article, written by Emma Waters in 2022 for the Heritage Foundation, Waters lays the groundwork for opposing no-fault divorce. Now, don't forget who is the primary organizer of Project 2025. That's right, the Heritage Foundation. Take a look at this 2023 CNN article. This explains the ramp up in Christian nationalist commentators like Matt Walsh, who continually complain about no-fault divorces and how it harms men. It also explains how House Speaker Mike Johnson has been an opponent of no-fault divorce for years, even though the data clearly shows that because of no-fault divorce, there has been an 8 to 16% reduction in the number of women intentionally unaliving themselves. Also, the number of women who have been exposed to domestic violence has been reduced drastically. All thanks to no-fault divorce. In an article earlier this month in The Guardian, it reported that lawmakers in Oklahoma, Louisiana, Nebraska, and of course Texas are working to oppose no-fault divorce. You know what this means. It's only a matter of time before other states will follow. We know that Project 2025 is one of the biggest threats to human rights. Project 2025 clearly lays out how they plan to replace all federal employees with Trump loyalists. We also know that Project 2025 is happening right now with the attack on the LGBTQ rights, the elimination of DEI programs, Christian nationalists opposing IVF, and now they're coming after contraception. Under Project 2025, all protections against discrimination based on gender or sexual identity will be eliminated. Project 2025 prioritizes Christian nationalism. It ensures that only white Christian men will remain in power. They do not care who suffers underneath this power structure. Stay awake, use your voice, and vote.
This is a PSA for any of the ladies that have been seriously considering divorcing their husband. There's a lot of big conversations happening now that we have the results of the election, one of them being no-fault divorce. That is a type of divorce that allows you to end your marriage without needing to prove that anyone is at fault. Some lawmakers are looking to abolish that, which is going to make you divorcing your husband a lot harder. So here's what that potential change could mean for you. You're going to have to prove that your husband did something wrong, which can be even more expensive, emotionally draining, and time-consuming. Legal battles over fault can keep you in an endless and very expensive fight. Removing no-fault divorce could mean higher conflict in court, which is certainly not ideal for your kids or you. Without no-fault divorce, you lose the freedom to decide when to leave your marriage. Your private decision could be left up to someone else's idea of what's right. So if you're unhappy in your marriage, now might be the time to act. Protect your right to choose what is best for you and your kids before it's taken away. Because the reasons that you want to leave your marriage are no one else's fucking business.
Ladies, if you are in an abusive marriage, if you are in a bad marriage, now's the time to get out. Now. Because whenever Project 2025 takes effect, they are pushing for no-fault divorce, which means it is going to be very difficult to leave your spouse. It's going to be difficult. You will probably have to prove abuse, infidelity, and these things are expensive. You're going to have to hire a lawyer. You're not just going to be able to get out of a marriage easily. They're going to want proof. It's going to be very hard to leave your marriage. So if you are in a bad marriage and you want to get out, now is the time before Donald Trump takes office, because getting rid of no-fault divorce is on their agenda. And if you don't believe me, you can look it up. It's happening. We're going to see more battered women. We're going to see the unaliving rate of women going up, because women are going to be, they're going to be viewed as property, which they already are. I have a story coming up about that shortly. But yeah, it's going to be hard. So if you are thinking of divorce, now's the time to start the process, because once J.D. Vance and Project 2025 starts rolling, it's going to be 10, 20, 30 times harder to get out of an abusive marriage.
Old boomer Republicans are at it again, but this time they're trying to make divorce illegal, and I don't know why more people aren't talking about it, because this is very worrying. So we all remember a little while back when Roe v. Wade was overturned, right? And Republicans disguised it as a scare tactic like abortion bill. Well, unfortunately, it was actually so much more than that. Roe v. Wade essentially protected our right to privacy, which covers way more than just pregnancy. Because really, the right to privacy protected so many things like trans, LGBT, women. And when that was overturned, we knew that everything else was now up on the chopping board for attack, and what Republicans have decided to own in on right now is the right to a divorce. So what's happening right now is Republican representatives in states like Texas, Louisiana, etc. are trying to fight and get overturned the no-fault divorce rules. And what are the no-fault divorce rules? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Way back in the day, when women were treated as property, like they're trying to do now, a woman had to present a reason why she wanted to be divorced, and she had to back that up in a court of law. It was actually hard to get a divorce. If you wanted to leave your marriage because you were unhappy, you couldn't do that. You had to prove why you were unsafe or why you couldn't stay in that marriage anymore, and obviously this put a lot of women in danger. Because obviously all that stuff, as we know, is really hard to prove. So the creation of the no-fault divorce just meant that either party could safely leave the marriage if they just decided they didn't want to be married anymore, which is a valid reason to not want to be married anymore. I'm sorry, Braden, if I don't want to be married to you anymore, you can't just chain me to a chair in the basement and keep me there. I'm a person, not an object. You can't just force me to stay with you, okay? And a lot of the Republicans speaking up and supporting this are like, well, my wife just decided she was unhappy one day and left, and I didn't even get a say in it. Buddy, I promise you probably had plenty of says in it, okay?
Would it have killed you to remember an anniversary or Cheryl's birthday even once? No, okay? And you can't just force her to stay with you. And yes, I'm bringing this conversation up again in 2024 because these states are literally still going at it trying to fight for this. And it's now more relevant than ever because guess who was originally super vocal? One of the people behind trying to make divorce way more difficult, who has now worked his way up in the ranks and been super transparent about supporting all of this. In not only all of his speeches, but yeah, take a crazy guess where else all of this is still written that we can now, a year later, easily access and see what's been going on behind the scenes this whole time. Unfortunately, we know that the GOP does not see women as people, but they're just trying to revoke our rights slowly, one by one, until we just become property to them again. And I don't think I need to elaborate further on how concerning that is and how worried I am that no one is talking about what's happening right now. And what absolutely amazes me the most is that boomers will pull stuff like this and then sit around and wonder why Gen Z is fighting back and deciding not to get married and settle down anymore. Like, disrespectfully, it sounds awful. No one wants to be married to you for the rest of forever, Stan, and pumping out your kids like a prized cattle at the state.
No-fault divorce is a good thing. There is a movement of people who believe no-fault divorces should be illegal. But let me tell you why it's incredibly important. No one should be forced to stay in a marriage if they're not happy, and no one should be forced to jump through hoops to be able to initiate the divorce process if they're not happy. All you're doing is allowing more time to pass for things to get harder and harder for you and your spouse. So I don't think no-fault divorces should be illegal. But tell me, what do you think? Do you believe no-fault divorces should be illegal? Or do you believe people should be able to meet basic requirements to be able to file for divorce? Let me know in the comments below.
Let's talk divorces, because as some of you may or may not know, I am in a living situation where I am living with my ex, but we are not officially divorced. We are still married legally on paper. We are still married. So with the election results being what they were, if you are in a situation like mine or you have been contemplating divorce, please, 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 please do not sleep on this. If you need or want a divorce, get one before January, preferably. I'm in the stage right now where I don't actually think that he won. My mind is not willing to accept that well over half of America, the country that I live in, voted for this disgusting excuse for a human being and voted to take away rights of their fellow loved ones. Like, people were voting in directly against people that they love, people and their families. I am really having a hard time with that. I really don't think that that is what happened. And I mean, as well, the math ain't mathing. You know what I mean? Like, how do we have record turnout but have like 15 million less votes than 2020? Like, make it make sense. So, living in Delulu land a little bit maybe right now, but hoping that he did cheat and America really doesn't all think like this, and, we're gonna ride off into the sunset happily ever after. But just in case it goes the other way, we all need to be prepared. What does that look like? That looks like getting a divorce if you need a divorce. No fault divorces are no fucking joke. You do not want to leave your future up to a random judge who's probably going to be a man and who's probably going to side with the man if you're in a, hetero relationship. So, that's not really something you want to leave up to anybody else. So, before they take that right away, okay, ditch the fucking extra baggage. I plan on filing for divorce in early January. I know I should file sooner than that, but I'm not willing to make my kids suffer, because I would literally not be able to buy them anything for Christmas to get this before Christmas. So I'm going to wait until January and file in January, and hopefully no radical laws are passed or hopefully he just fucking chills for a minute and I can push this thing through and get it through all the way. So I'm going early January is when I'm filing for divorce. Also, we need to be stacking cash. So that's really hard for most of us, because most of us, can't even tell you the last time I have touched cash. But that is something else that needs to be done, because they could potentially take away your ability to own a bank account. I mean, it's the government. They can really do whatever the fuck they want to, and that's scary when you're talking about Donald Trump. But regardless, it is something that you need to prepare for. Another thing is passports. If you do not have a passport, please get a passport. Go check it. Make sure it's not expired. You also need one for your children or your parents. If you're anyone that you're caring for, you need passports for yourself and for them. This is for multiple reasons. They said that soon that they're going to start, Trump wants to start implementing a rule where you provide two pieces of identification when identification is requested. So that can work for, the future if you want to stay in America, and it could also work if you want to get the fuck out of America, or if you need to get the fuck out of America. With that being said, if you cannot get the fuck out of America, but you do have the ability to move to a blue state, please do so. Please fucking do so. They are already prepping and getting ready for this man being in office and making sure that their states are quote unquote Trump proof, so that, any laws and like craziness that he does with the rest of the country does not apply to them. So if you cannot get out of the country, please get to a blue state. But baby steps first, stack that cash, keep it on hand, and get that divorce. I mean, all we can do at this point is prepare as best we can and hope for the best, which is that he actually did lose. So I don't know.
Have been paying attention, you know that the prospects of the no-fault divorce being overturned is in the works. Okay. For those of you who don't know what that means, it means that right now, if you want to get divorced, you can just go file for divorce. If they overturn no-fault divorce, it's going to make it very difficult. And for some people, depending on what state you're in, probably impossible for you to get divorced. So if men are already showing their bare naked asses now, knowing you can leave, imagine how they're going to start treating y'all when they know you can't, without their written signature, or however it's going to go, right? No woman ever thinks that she's going to file for divorce when she first gets married. No woman thinks that. Everybody thinks that their marriage is going to last forever. No woman ever thinks it's going to be her whose husband is found out to be cheating, or found out to be a pedophile, PD3, or whatever y'all call it. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. No woman ever thinks it's going to be her husband that is on the down low, or that your husband is brought you some worms or maggots or whatever that's down there, and come to find out it's because he's been having sex with corpses, right? We heard about those two ladies. There's probably way more than that, but we knew about those two on the news, right? There was two women that I remember reading about that. These types of things are grounds for divorce. Like, you find out your husband is giving you maggots in your vag because he's it's not funny. He's not even smart enough to at least this sounds crazy, trust me. He's not even smart enough to put a condom on if he's going to go inside of a dead body. Don't get me wrong, it's a dead body, and he's weird for doing that. But he didn't even care about his own health, and he doesn't care about this stuff. Is grounds for divorce. But with no-fault divorce, when you find out the most egregious things about your husband, and you will, men hide stuff all the time. Women find out a whole lot of things after they've tied the knot, after they've fallen in love already. You find out a bunch of stuff. What if you find out he has 4 kids that you don't know about, right? These things are grounds for divorce, but y'all are going to be stuck. And when these men know in their minds, or think in their minds, that you can't go anywhere, they're going to start treating you any kind of way. If he decides to come home one day and knock your teeth down your throat, right? That's grounds for divorce, but y'all won't be able to get divorced, right? So I'm so curious to know what y'all are planning to do. The women who want to get married, are y'all still going to get married if they overturn this? The ones who are married, are you going to get divorced, but just
stay with your husband before they pass the law. That way you're protected. I mean, like, what are y'all planning on doing? This is a genuine question. Part of the reason why I do social media is because I really do like hearing other people's perspectives. I like to hear what women are thinking. I like to see what the collective thought is on certain topics, right? So leave your comments. I'm very curious to know what women are planning on doing with this. Do I think they're going to overturn no-fault divorce in probably most states? I do. A lot of people didn't think Roe versus Wade was going to be overturned, and look what happened. So you have to be, when it comes to women's rights and us having our bodily autonomy and our independence, they're going to do everything they can to set us back. So y'all have to know that this is coming, right? And I just want you guys to think about it and figure out a plan. But I kind of would like to know what you guys plan on doing about that.
Conservatives have begun engaging in concerning rhetoric around no-fault divorce, arguing that it is unconstitutional or against the Christian concept of marriage. I'm not a Christian. That applies to y'all. Leave me out of that shit. Ladies, I thought about it long enough. It's time to divorce him. We're looking for a sign. This is it. Divorce him before no-fault divorce is on. You will be stuck in that marriage. I have allowed you to read the book. You know the plan. You just have to be active. Fuck, are you still? Why are you still here? Start the paperwork.
The right is coming for no-fault divorce. We all know it. They came for Roe v. Wade. They got it. Affirmative action. They got it. Basically, any progress that we've made in the 20th century as oppressed people is being slowly stripped away. No-fault divorce mostly benefits women. Because when you don't have no-fault divorce, they say you can get out of the marriage if you can prove adultery or abuse. However, the standard of proof is always super duper high. I can tell you somebody who did go through a divorce where I did deal with abuse, that because it was, I don't know if it's because it was no fault or because of the system, but they literally did not care. So I shudder to think what the burden of proof is if you actually are going through this with a system where no fault doesn't exist and you have to prove what happened to you, especially people like me who were not physically abused but were emotionally and psychologically abused and financially abused. I saw this article on Twitter today and it just really reminded me how bad the arguments are about no fault divorce being eliminated. This person in this article, she is talking about her experience with divorce and how it ruined her life and led her into a life of addiction. I read the entire article, and it just sounds like both of her parents were neglectful people. Her father more so. I mean, they're saying their father basically just ignored them for his new girlfriend, and they did what they want. They smoked, they drank, they stole cars, and it led to a path of addiction. The mother, they didn't like her new boyfriend, and they had Christmas at Mall of America, which I guess was bad. I'm not sure. Anyway, the closing arguments of the article were that divorce is bad because your kids have to go to a lot of different places for the holidays, and also because their parents are going to have new partners that they obsess over. This is not universally true. And I just find it to be weird, with so many good reasons that people leave marriages, because the reality is most people don't leave marriages lightly. If it's not working and two people are together, it can get dangerous. A lot of times it has gotten dangerous to some capacity for most divorces. Most divorces are high conflict because a person has married somebody who is not a person that is fit for them, and they found out something probably pretty diabolical and sinister about them, and they want to get out. Then you got the two people that just outgrew each other, but those people divorce a lot less frequently than the people that I described first. So your mom being able to get away from your abusive dad and neglectful dad is important, because at least you have the potential of having one good parent. Sounds like here this writer didn't have either good parent, but that's not divorce's fault. I can't imagine they would have been great together if apart they were obsessed with their partners and not feeding you guys. I don't know what her argument is for those people to stay together. It sounds like the parents just as a whole were the problem. But the fact that articles like this are coming out, implying that it's bad for kids to experience divorce, feels like propaganda to start up the momentum behind getting rid of no-fault divorce. So I want to bring that to people's attention because, especially as an abuse survivor, I'm a big advocate of no-fault divorce. You need to be able to get out of a marriage when you know you need to be able to get out of it. And because people do not believe people when they say that someone has abused them, when they've been through abuse, unless you have police documented photos of injuries, and even then it doesn't really make a lot of difference. We can't rely on a system that's saying that they're going to do something about it if you've been abused when they barely do anything about abusers to begin with.
Something really concerning is happening amongst a certain group of lawmakers and thought leaders in the U.S. There is a push to do away with no-fault divorce. And from the perspective of a family law attorney, a healthy divorce coach, and someone who prides myself on empowering women, I'm going to tell you why this is a really big deal. But first, let me explain what a no-fault divorce is. This is a legal mechanism that has been around for 50 years and exists in all 50 states that allows a person to unilaterally get a divorce based on irreconcilable differences without having to prove their spouse committed a fault such as cheating or abuse. As you can imagine, it can be difficult to prove fault grounds because marital misdeeds often happen behind closed doors in he said, she said situations. The level of difficulty in proving fault grounds varies from state to state, but the spouse alleging fault must provide convincing evidence. Their word alone is not enough. So why is this a big deal? The no-fault divorce option makes divorce far easier to obtain, and possibly even more important than that, it makes a peaceful, amicable divorce far more likely because you don't have to publicly throw your spouse's character under the bus to get a divorce. Now, the reason this will disproportionately affect women is because 70% of divorces are initiated by women. Listen to this clip by a political commentator who advocates for the end of no-fault divorce.
It's hard to think of any other situation in which a contract can be broken for no reason by either party without the consent of the other and entirely without cause.
Maybe I'm crazy, but the person you agree to live with, be intimate with, have children with, handle finances with is probably the number one factor that influences your mental and physical health and the overall quality of your life. The contract that you entered with that person should not be held to the same standard as the contract you have with your cell phone provider. Here's a clip of another political commentator and advocate for the end of no-fault divorce.
And no, this was not my choice. My then wife decided that she didn't want to be married anymore. And in the state of Texas, that is completely permitted.
This man is blatantly saying that he doesn't believe his wife should be able to leave him unless he allows her to do so. Of those 70% of divorces that are initiated by women, the top reasons for divorce include 1. Women are more likely than men to feel like they are being held back in their marriages because of a disproportionate domestic workload. 2. Women have a larger emotional burden than men to make sure everyone in the family is emotionally supported. And 3. Women are no longer willing to tolerate bad behavior like cheating and abuse because they are not nearly as financially reliant on men as they were historically due to more women entering the workforce. The push to end no-fault divorce, it is a direct attack on women having the freedom, sovereignty, and agency to leave a situation that is not healthy for them to be in.
Ladies, walk with me for a second. If or when no-fault divorce ends, just know you're going to see a surge of romantic men. These men are going to be seemingly perfect and so considerate and not at all like other guys. And they're going to swear up and down that they voted for Kamala. And they're going to manipulate and lie to you in any way they possibly can, so you get your guard down just long enough for them to slip a ring on your finger. In the second that marriage contract is signed, they're going to reveal themselves to be some of the most misogynistic men you have ever met. Because at that point, you're legally stuck with them, so they finally feel comfortable enough to be their true selves around you. And the thing is, men already do this. So many wives already talk about how their oh-so-loving boyfriend switched the moment they either got married or had their first child. But once men know for a fact that there's little that you can do to escape them once you get married, they're going to say and do anything to put a ring on it. They will go to any length. They will travel any distance. They will do whatever they gotta do to ensnare you. So don't be out here thinking that you somehow lucked into meeting your Prince Charming in Trump's America. Odds are, he's manipulating you. And the worst part is that even if he isn't, if you get married, you will still and eternally be at your husband's mercy. The safest thing to do by far would just be to not get married under any circumstances. The best thing to do would be to be completely celibate. But if you still want to date men, then date men. Just don't sign your life away on a marriage contract. And don't trust anyone who will try to
guilt trip you or pressure you or shame you into a marriage. Trust me, that pressure will come from all sides. A marriage will be your prison sentence. Anyways, up the 4B movement, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And before you guys go, I have one more poem. What's the greatest lesson a woman should learn? That since day one, she's already had everything she needs within herself. It's the world that convinced her she did not. And that is by Rupi Kaur. See y'all in the next one.